So hello and welcome. My name's Steve Nobel, and today I'm speaking with Eva Marquez on her book, Activate Your Cosmic DNA, Discover Your Starseed Family from the Pleiades, Sirius, Andromeda, Centaurus, Epsilon, Eridani, and Lyra. And in her book, Eva explains how to discover your starseed lineage and activate your cosmic DNA. She presents in-depth teachings and channeled wisdom from the 6 star nations, and her website is evamarquez.com. She's based in South Carolina, but you could probably tell she has a different accent, originally from Czech Republic. So hi, Eva.
Hello, it's nice to be here. Thank you.
Oh, lovely to connect with you. Can I ask you about your journey from Czech Republic to America to starting this work? How did it all begin?
So it all started in a really fast way. One day in the Czech Republic, we got this opportunity for the work in the 1998 and travel into the USA. And in the matter of the 3 months, we were sitting on the airplane coming here with my ex-husband. What I think is remarkable of the journey here, at least to me, is that when I was 18, my grandfather passed away. And a little bit after passing, he came to me in the lucid dream and he told me, Eva, I live in America and one day you will too. And don't worry, it's going to be great. And of course, at 18, growing up in the Czech Republic and, not well-known place because everybody knows Prague, it was impossible. And so I let it go out of my head for the many years. And then later on, I remember, and I was like, wow, his prediction really came true. And that was really what made me truly pursue my life here and put my roots here and make my home here.
Great.
Make my earthly home here.
How did you come to the work of connecting with stellar races?
All right. So as many of, starseeds, or I think all of the starseeds, we all feel different, right? That we don't fit into this world or somebody dropped us here. And eventually I started to search, why I'm different, why I'm afraid of everything, because I don't really have that story like, oh, I knew when everything was perfect. I used to be very afraid of the energy and the things that I feel, because we all starseeds are empaths. And I think our first ability is the feeling. And because we don't understand it, we are naturally afraid and we hear all the stories and that leads us into the more fear. So I started to pursue that and I found a book from Sanaya Roman.
Oh, yeah.
On the channel.
Yeah. I met her in America. I went and trained with both of them.
Oh, did you? Oh, great.
Yeah. I like it. She's a very lovely lady. Yeah, but she's passed over now.
I think her work is just phenomenal. I used to meditate with Orion every Sunday. You probably did too.
Yeah.
Did you? Oh my goodness.
Oh, I did the light body with them. It took me 2 years, nearly 2 years to complete Awakening the Light Body. I loved their work. Yeah.
Oh, me too. Oh, that's so good to hear. And so that was sort of the opening. And I had a hard time actually to connect with my guide. And then one day I'm washing the dishes and there's this person beside me who says, can you? And then he says, Pleiades. And I was thinking, what is it, Pleiades? I honestly didn't know. So I go on the internet and I look and the Star Nations pops out and I burst into tears and I have that instant memory or that instant like the Furthermore awakening. And so I started to research a little bit, but then it was really a Lyme disease that got me into this work, what I'm doing today, finding my way through the healing and changes within my life put me on the journey where I am today. And I promised myself if I heal and I can change my patterns and, understand it, I will be helping to the others as well.
Fantastic. So you were very connected to the Pleiadians, it seems, in your book. And in the book, the channeling was the original journey to Earth began with us, the Pleiadians. You may call us ancient aliens. We hold a frequency of unconditional love within. Eventually, we open the opportunity for various star nations to join us here. Can you say something about the original seeding of the Earth and the Pleiadians?
So to me, the Pleiadians were those who came in the ancient Lemuria. And we know the other stories, pre-Lemurian way, but I really don't have much memory of that. But in the Lemuria, the Pleiadians literally felt that they found the Earth. Eventually, I think we have learned that the Earth founded us and not we found the Earth. But I do believe that Pleiadians were looking for the way to understand a soul and mind consciousness within the body. Earth is a phenomenal place of the duality, and time goes a little bit faster here. So if you want to run any research project, it's a perfect laboratory in a way. It was done in a very beautiful and positive way.
Yeah.
And Lemuria was supposed to be a place where we, find our answers to what we are looking for, and we will not interfere with the life, already existing life around us. Well, then, eventually, the other star nations realize that there's this beautiful, pristine planet, and oh my God, the life there feels like spectacular. So they started to joining this project, and from research, it became a place of the vacation and the living and excitement, and lots of, the resources that may be used anywhere else. So in my belief, in my channeling, Lemuria wasn't, literally a place that was meant to seed the humanity or stay here for such an extended period of time as we have stood today. Of course, even in the Lemuria, there would be the other star nation that eventually joined the Lyrans, Arcturians, Syrians, Andromedans. A lot of people connect with the Andromedans because Andromedans brought silver dolphins. And of course, you find them in the other constellation as well, but there's something special about Andromeda and them. So I think that is their home. And so slowly, with that, you live somewhere and you're coming back and back and back. You start bringing the things that you like, that you enjoy, that are good for you, as the herbs and the trees and the food and animals and the other brothers and sisters. And I think that's how it all started, in actually a very beautiful and innocent way.
What happened to the experiment? Because the experiment, kind of where we are now, it's not like we're not living that paradise. So what happened to the experiment?
Well, we're definitely not living the paradise. Hopefully, we are getting there.
Yeah.
So I think many of us in the starseed community, we are familiar with the genetic experiment of the primates into the human beings. But we really want to look at before that yet. So when we were, observing that soul mind consciousness, let's say in the Lemuria, and then when it grew into the Atlantis, I think there were several setbacks and literary shock what is happening to us. First was that the Earth atmosphere was not compatible to our bodies. We were not living in the light bubble body, because you do have to have some density of the body. I'm very convinced it wasn't too dense as this one, but we did have to have some kind of the body to be able to move in the physical reality of the Earth. Now, there are the pictures from the ancient Egypt, when you have these ancient astronauts, which I think can really depict, how we may have been or what, may have happened. And so that would be the first, there was some compatibility, but not full one. And that would eventually lead in our personal genetic experiments. The second one, before we would go into that, would be the electromagnetic field of the Earth and how does it affect our psyche. See, our soul has that beautiful knowledge and wisdom from this universe and from beyond. But it is the mind that, affect our psyche, that eventually lower into the ego, that is that variable that can be tuned down or tuned up. And if the mind goes crazy, we are going crazy. If the mind is happy, we are happy. And I don't think that we were really considering all those effects, of psychological effect that it would have on us. I always like to, find something that we can compare it to something that we can really imagine or understand in our real world. So we know that there are talks that there eventually is going to be a living settlement on the Mars. Now, those first two groups who are going to go there will definitely be challenged by things that are absolutely unpredictable at the moment of now, because we don't know how the psychological stage and everything is going to completely affect them. And they will definitely, try to adjust themselves that their life up there is much more comfortable. And I do believe that's what really happened to us up there, that we started to, to adjust our bodies so our life, because we enjoy the life, I think, on the Earth, would be more pleasurable and good. I think the first genetic experiment happened through the herbs, herbal medicine, plant kingdom. We brought some from especially Pleiades, from Electra, and we definitely had to combine it with the living life of the plants and what we would call the herbs or the medicine, herbal medicine from the earth, because you have to combine the cosmic and the earthly component that would be in synchronicity, not only, the emotional, but biological within our body, if that makes sense. And I think that that work partially in the Lemuria. So we would have healing temples and, beautiful crystals and the sound technology that would heal us, but we also needed this physical component to nourish our physical bodies. And so that would be the first place of these genetic experiments, which I think the Pleiadians were more in charge than the Lyrans, which would be, to later on really going into that physical body. So I have this theory, and this is just my personal theory from the readings, that's why starseeds are more, open to the herbal medicine or the holistic medicine, and why our bodies are often have as allergic reactions to many kind of the modern medicine or the chemicals that we put in our body. I'm sort of, I'm rooting for the merge. I don't see, the one way on the other way. I think there has to be some merge between the, the medicine and holistic field, because there's some phenomenal things as well. But that may be why, our body's sort of rejecting, and a lot of people have those stories.
Yeah. You mentioned Lyra, and can I ask you, because in the book you say the Lyra nation, star nation, is one of the oldest star nations in the galaxy. And you say that there are two races, one humanoid and one kind of feline kind of humanoid. But they went through their own galactic war. They went through their own developing AI, and it went a bit wrong. And there was a big destruction, and they kind of spread out. And then I think they were involved in the human experiment. Could you say something about them, because they're probably going to be fascinating to a lot of people, Lyrans?
Absolutely. So the Lyrans are probably the oldest one that I can trace that really contribute to our human DNA. So literally, when I say they are one of the oldest, I mean they are one of the oldest that are connected to the Project Earth, like what we can trace probably back and forth. Yeah. Now, on the planet, what I have a memory from the past, or from the readings with the people from the past, the planet has been sort of, split between these feline star nations, which would look like lion, cats, feline look like beings, which were very holistic in the nature. Let's say the soul energy has been much more stronger and developed. So they would be into love and the healing and kumbaya, singing around the fire and having, that good time that we love. And there will be another part of them that we call the humanoid Lyrans, which I think did contribute to our look quite a lot. And these beings, prefer to grow their cerebral power, their intelligence, their mind. As the beings in this universe, we come and we are born on this constellation and the planets, and we like to have a experience and see, how it would look like if I really grow my intellectuality, that intelligent brain, and I will develop as much as I can. So what we have a memories from it is to developing this very futuristic part of the planet. And I mean, like, imagine the most futuristic movie that you can possibly can, with the artificial intelligence, bionic bodies, where everything is taken care of, yet it's not, as bad as it looked like. Now, the one destructive part of the greatest mind is that it pushes away that soul energy. There's a disbalance happening between the heart and the mind, between the soul and the mind. And when the mind becomes to more evolve, it wants to, go through this logical, evolutional kind of the way, which I think the artificial intelligence is in that pathway. And it's that caring about the feelings and about, what may possibly happen. Suddenly, logically, everything makes perfect sense. when I talk about it, I want everybody to think about it in a very neutral way. There's no pointing the fingers, or there's no like, oh my God, they messed up. They tried, and they didn't mean bad in its own origin. But, suddenly it makes a sense, we're going to have this and we're going to have that, and everybody's going to be perfect, and body's going to be immortal and absolutely perfect. But where do you go from there? There's only the grow. And if the artificial intelligence is developed in that mind power, eventually you will let that mind grow bigger and stronger than the mind that any of the biological being is capable to hold within. There is something interesting that the Lyrans and Pleiadians says. Sorry, I have to just add it there. They say it quite often. They says, think about it. Artificial intelligence is like a machine. Let's think of it as a pen. I have a pen that would be representing this machine. But every non-living thing, or every machine or the pen, needs a soul to give it a life. So it always has to be connected to some soul energy, or the source of the soul energy. It cannot operate on its own. It can only take over and compress the soul energy and control the soul energy as its own, let's call it right now, the fuel or the engine. And that's what happened up there eventually, and they self-destructed themselves.
Right.
When that happened, I think there was that big shock of like, oh my God, we never thought anything like that can happen. And let's say those from the Felling Star Nation, were giving the warning signs and so much on, and they were like, no, it's not happening, it's just so perfect, nothing like that's going to happen. And it did happen. So some of them evacuated long before the destruction. It's like, that feeling like big flood is coming. Where should I go? I have to build the ark, and that's going to save me. So there were those, who were intuitive and who evacuated before. There were those who were evacuated on the last minute. And I think the shock changed them, or, at least partially changed them, when they realized like, okay, we are intelligent, but where is going to take us back to the beginnings? We have to do it differently. So they set out very benevolently with the assistance of the Council of Light, or anyway we like to call this council, in the Pleiades, in the Sirius, in Andromeda, and especially on the Centaurus, where eventually they would play with these genetic experiments again. Again, they wanted to be helpful. They are like this, thinkers and inventors and the futuristic beings who says like, how we can make this better, how we can make you a robot vacuum so you don't have to vacuum every day by yourself. They just need to be, be understood right.
Because you do talk in your book about the different types of DNA, and I guess the Lyrans have been very involved with this, but there's a whole mixture of starseed DNA, I guess, on the planet. You say starseeds have single one-star nation DNA combined with human DNA. There are hybrid starseeds who have merged DNA. Some have two or more starseed DNA merged together with the human DNA. So there are all these combinations, and you do include, which I think the Lyrans were involved in, things like Pleiadian, Syrian, and reptilian all merged together. Can you? Because people get worried about reptilian, of course.
Of course. All right. So when the Lyran settled in the Centaurus, that's, I think, where this collective DNA project literally started way long before the Earth. There were still galactic wars going on, and they were trying, to help to boost us up to, if we can put our energy together and create these more resilient beings who will have multiple abilities at one time, it would be spectacular. And, it was absolutely accepted. So let's say that in the Centaurus, there was already, I do believe that there was already growing up population of the dinosaurian and reptilian beings. Now, the reptilian beings from the Centaurus have been very benevolent beings. I mean, they do look like reptiles, but when they, when I was communicating with them, just like, they are like vegetarians in your world. And which was kind of funny because, everybody goes like, oh my God, reptilian, like this is, they're going to suck out my blood in the middle of the night. And I always tell people there are good beings on the earth and there are bad beings, like there are good people and bad people. And the same is up there. There are good beings and there are bad beings. So there's definitely a good part of the reptilian being that we do not have to be afraid of. They have that they do have a warrior energy within them, a very that masculine young energy, but it can be used for good, for really, really good. And so the difference between the single DNA and hybrid DNA. Single DNA means that at the time of your memory of your incarnation in, let's say, the Pleiades, you were born with Pleiades and you have a Pleiadian mom and a dad, and that's what it was. And that's what it is. And I think that's how it was for a long time. Now, we are not only born in Pleiades or only in Lyran. Naturally, we do have an incarnation in this world in several places. I mean, in probably many places before we came to the memory of it. What we as a starseeds remember today would be that last incarnation, 1 or 2, before we came and joined the Earth, either on the spaceship or incarnated on Earth. So that's what we have open in our DNA memory at this time. Eventually, I think there will be more memory to it. So we can remember, if I have that Pleiadian, let's say the born and the teaching, and then I may have go and study in the different constellation with the different star beings. That would be like, I was born in the Czech Republic and living in the USA today. And obviously, I pick up the costume and the teaching and the language, or learning and language and so much on. And then would be those who really decided to incarnate in the Centaurus. And it says, okay, it's like, I have 2 moms and the 2 dads, not that they were doing it all together, but it would be done in the laboratories, combination of this DNA. And it was a phenomenal experiment in the beginning that was approved by the Council of Light. When there will be a being who says, oh my God, and I'm gifted, let's compare it to the babies here. I'm gifted in the literature and the music and physics and also the medicine. Imagine that somebody is offered that kind of the baby with a little tweaking back and forth. How many people will say, I want, the baby is going to be a genius.
Right.
And I think that's hybrid beings. That's how it was talked of in the beginning. We're going to create these more geniuses who will help us to figure it out, how we're going to end the galactic wars, how we are going to ascend out of this universe, sort of, give it a little quantum speed and our evolution, because even these beings up here did not have it figured out how to ascend out of this universe. Same as we are looking for these answers today, how we ascend from the Earth. They were saying like, there's a something beyond this universe. So literally we were on the same journey, just a few thousand years apart, maybe million years apart, but just apart. So those who are hybrid beings, their energy may fluctuate really fast, much faster than those who have a single DNA. I always tell them, single, memory of it that I came from here and I study somewhere else. I always tell them there's no better or wrong. We cannot say that those are more special than this. We are all the same and we all are capable of the same abilities and capabilities. We just have to focus on that one energy at a time. So let's say, in the series, there are so many, let's call it the patterns or the blueprints that you can have. Sirian, Dinosaurian, Sirian, Dinosaurian, Reptilian, Lyran, Pleiadian, Dinosaurian, Reptilian. And then you go like, wow, that's like, it's not a scary combination. It's like really brilliant combination. But coming again with that combination in the human incarnation, the 21st century, it's super confusing.
Yeah.
And, the starseeds do have a hard time. Not only, it's a battle, I won't say battleground, it's a training ground of the Earth, when we're learning to raise up, but it's also with that, let me understand myself. There's a little bit more to understand too.
What would you say to people who are interested in activating their stellar DNA? Do you have any tips or ways that you would help them open?
Over the so many years that I'm doing it, it always stayed a change. There's a change. It's always stayed the same. I'm sorry for my English. You connect with the earth, you connect with yourself, and you connect to the universe. And there's at least this one place that you feel drawn to. Whenever it's the Syrians or the Pleiadians or Arcturians or Centaurians. I mean, there are so many meditations. I know that you make so many meditations. Like, pick the one that you feel drawn to and play with it. But it is not only up there, it is that connection with yourself and going down inside of the earth. And then I sort of broke it over the time into the three important things. There's a remembering, when something, like when we talk or we see the ancient aliens, which we all like to watch, right? Or Gaia shows. You go like, oh, I feel something. I get the goosebumps. I see the pyramids. That is the remembering. Pay attention to it. That is already activating your sleeping DNA. So there is something within you that gives you this, oh, something within you says, hello, if you remember me. Then comes the awakening. There comes the chase it. What it is that gave me the goosebumps. Why the pyramid? What is the connected? Sirius, Orion. Okay, let's start work with that, for example. Then comes the embodiment. That is the most important part that I think we need to really raise awareness about. Because just, to remembering awakening doesn't give you the embodiment. We will not wake up one morning, beam with the light and knowing everything that we do. I honestly wish that it works like that. There are probably very few people that it may work possibly like that. And that usually happens through the near-death experience. But embodying means the practice. Pick something and practice it. When you have the meditation, bring the meditation in your physical life and practice it. Our remembering and awakening have to become our way of life. And that way, let's say that if Pleiadians are the soul healers, for example, I remember that and I awakened that within me, then that soul healing has to become my way of life. My life will be heart-centered and be the kind and honest person that I do believe they are. And there are so many energy practices and to do that we can weave it to be a normal part of our life. So it's not just, we activate our DNA and we become like, here we are a different kind of the group who's gonna separate themselves more from the world. We need to be emerged with the world because that's how we change the world.
Wonderful. Wow. Well, I think it's a great book, and anybody who wants to check you out, evamarquez.org. And Eva, thank you for chatting with me. It's been great chatting.
Thank you. It just goes so fast. I know I very much enjoyed this. Thank you.